Getting to Know the World's Greatest Artists, a book about Rembrandt, written by Mike Venezia. Rembrandt was one of the greatest artists of all time. He lived and painted in Holland. He was born in 1606 and died in 1669. This is the city of Amsterdam in Holland, where Rembrandt spent most of his time painting and drawing. As you can see, there were lots of windmills back then. In fact, Rembrandt's father owned a windmill. Rembrandt probably had lots of fun when he was growing up. Even though there were no cameras in Rembrandt's time, we know what he looked like because he was always painting pictures of himself, maybe more than any other famous artist. This painting was done when Rembrandt was 23 years old. This is Rembrandt when he was a little older and a little heavier. There seems to be a big change in the way he painted, too. Rembrandt liked to paint at home and spend lots of time with his family. In spite of this, he painted over 500 pictures. Rembrandt used his family and relatives as models in many of his works. This is his mother reading the Bible. This is his father wearing a furry cape and hat. Rembrandt also used his sister and wife as models. This is Rembrandt's son, Titus, doing homework. He looks as if he's stuck on a math problem or daydreaming, just like kids today do. Rembrandt is well known for his use of light and dark paints. The darkness in his paintings helped to make the light parts stand out. The people in this painting were pretty messy, by the way. As you can see, at least 2 glasses of wine are being knocked over at the same time. Sometimes Rembrandt would paint very smoothly, and sometimes he would pile on the paint. In the Feast of Belshazzar, he did both. As you can see, the people and things around them are pretty smooth looking. The gold and jewels Belshazzar is wearing are loaded with thick paint. This makes them look like they're glowing, and they seem almost real. It is not clear whether this is a self-portrait or a painting of one of Rembrandt's students or friends. In any case, we can get an idea of what an artist's studio looked like in the 1600s. Because there weren't any cameras in Rembrandt's time, many people wanted their pictures painted. Most of the people Rembrandt painted wore black clothes and wanted to look very serious. It was the style of the day. So, for fun, Rembrandt would dress up in bright clothes and jewels and then paint himself. This is a picture of Rembrandt and his wife, Saskia. Rembrandt looked like he is having a good time. Here he is, really dressed up with his pet dog. Rembrandt liked dogs, and you can see them in many of his paintings. This is probably Rembrandt's greatest portrait. It is a painting of a group of important men. Their job was to make sure all the cloth made in Amsterdam was just right. Rembrandt painted the group of men looking right at you. It's almost like you walked in during their meeting and they stopped to see what you wanted. They seemed friendly and concerned. Few painters have ever made a portrait look so natural and real. Rembrandt painted many scenes from the Bible. The only thing was he dressed people in whatever costumes he liked and used furniture and other things from his own time. Do you think people from the Bible times would have recognized themselves? One of Rembrandt's greatest paintings, The Night Watch, was the start of a lot of his problems. A group of soldiers asked Rembrandt if he would paint a portrait of them to hang in their clubhouse. Rembrandt agreed, but thought he would try something different. He thought the painting would look more natural and not as stiff as other portraits of the day if he placed everybody standing around talking and getting ready to go for a march. Rembrandt was right, but he made a lot of people angry, especially the people who paid to be in the painting. They all wanted to be the same size. Rembrandt's wife, Saskia, had been sick for a long time, and while he was painting The Night Watch, she died. This made Rembrandt very sad, and when he found out the soldiers were unhappy with his painting, he was even sadder. He kept on painting anyway, and he decided he didn't care what people thought of his work. His paintings got even better. It's funny how things like that can happen sometimes. After Saskia died, a lady named Hendrika moved into Rembrandt's house to take care of Titus. Rembrandt and Hendrika fell in love, and Rembrandt painted many pictures of her. Later, they had a baby girl named Cornelia. Rembrandt is best known for his paintings of people, but he also did paintings in which the scenery is the most important part of the picture. These paintings are called landscapes. Even though people paid Rembrandt a lot of money for his paintings, he never seemed to have any money. This was because he bought a big, expensive house and collected all kinds of things. He paid lots of money for other artists' work, jewelry, antiques, armor, fancy clothes, gold helmets, and statues. He used these things in his paintings. Rembrandt lived to be 63 years old. He painted right up to the end of his life. In fact, when he died, he left an unfinished painting called Simon in the Temple. Maybe the most important thing about Rembrandt's paintings are his people. If you look at them closely and forget about the funny clothes they wore or where Rembrandt placed them, they almost seem like people you might know today. Rembrandt made the people he painted seem alive, even more real than a photograph could. That's why many people think he's the greatest painter who ever lived. It's much better to see a real Rembrandt painting than a picture of one. The pictures you've seen here come from the Netherlands, New York, Chicago, Illinois, England, Massachusetts, East Germany, France, West Germany, and Washington, D.C.